boy, oh boy, do I have a treat for you today. We're going to talk about the legend of General Butt Naked. First, before we get into the legend of General Butt Naked, I think it would help if I told you what a warlord was, so you know the definition, because I had heard the term before, but I didn't know the full extent of what an actual warlord was. So, a warlord is a person who exercises military, political, and economic control in a given region with basically full autonomy, meaning they don't answer to the government really. So, important to know that. Now, it's very difficult for me to give a full definition, or I guess example, of what a warlord is, because with that definition, I would consider Hitler a warlord, because technically he wasn't a part of the government, but he kind of worked with him. But at the most part, he definitely did his own thing. He had his own army and his own, things set up. But I don't know if they put Hitler on the list of warlords. So also, another way to look at it is, imagine if you know how the drug game works. You have a drug dealer, right? And then you move up like a step or two, and then you got the plug. And then you move up to the top of the chain and you have what most call the kingpin, right? Imagine if there were mercenaries, right? And at the top of the mercenary chain or hierarchy would be a warlord, essentially. So that's kind of the way it works in that realm. A mercenary is a mercenary until they reach warlord status, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, moving on, let us get specifically into General Butt Naked. I'm pretty sure you're kind of curious how he got that name. If you don't know, we're going to get into it. I'm going to try not to mess this up, but his original name is Joshua Milton Blahy. I'm pretty sure it's Blahy, something like that. For the sake of this, from now on, moving forward, I'm going to refer to him strictly as the General, or Butt Naked. There you go. The general was born in 1971 in Liberia to the Kron family. Now, notice a second ago, I said his last name was like Blahy, but I'm saying he's born into the Kron family. Kron family, from what I was reading, looks more or less like a tribe almost. So technically he was born under the name Blahy, but he was born into the Kron family or Kron tribe. They were an ethnic group described as hunters, fishers, and overall farmers. I believe kind of specializing in rice, and I think it was something else, but I forgot. But yeah, so at the age of 7, the general's father granted parental control over him to the village elders, and they ended up raising the general as a village warrior. Spoiler alert. And from there on, he learned, of course, how to fight, how to fend for himself, and it started getting kind of dark, kind of quick. So yeah, that was at the age of 7. I believe, like, just by the age of 9, he had already kind of made his way to high priest. Actually, I take that back. By the age of 11, so 4 years later from 7. By the age of 11, he became a high priest. So what entails of the role of a high priest? Oh my goodness, I'm so glad that you asked. So if you've ever seen the movie Black Panther, right? And if not, it's cool, I'll describe it. The way that they elect high priests, or people that are supposed to be in these higher up positions within these villages by the village elders, is by basically combat. You have to earn that position by being more powerful than all of the rest. So it doesn't have anything to do with, I don't know, esteem and skill. I mean, fighting skill, them hands. But you know what I mean? Like there's no other merit that really goes into it. So it's very similar to kind of what they showed in the Black Panther movie, except this isn't Disney. So it was probably not nearly as PG as you could imagine. And yes, it could come a point in time where during the fight, you know, maybe both of you guys are alive and you can literally choose whether or not to kill the loser. Like, if you want to do a fatality, you can do a fatality. They kind of don't care. They just want a winner to come out of it. And luckily, or I guess, I don't know, however you want to look at this. Well, the general obviously won because he became the high priest, but that's how he did it. I think it's crazy to think about this, though. He did this at the age of 11. So as a high priest, one of your duties is to oversee the human sacrifices. Yes, human sacrifices. I said it. It's going to get worse. And the way that the general went about doing it was he said that he would have visions. And these visions would tell him who the next sacrifice needs to be. So whenever he ended up picking out who the sacrifice was, he would tell the village elders this person's last name. They would then go to the village or wherever else this person was, kidnap them, drag them back. They would place them atop of an altar and the human sacrifice would begin. And by the end of it, that person would be dismembered. It will get worse. The general often claimed that he would get these visions. One time he said he received a vision from the devil himself, who said that he would be a great warrior someday. But in order to stay consistent and to keep growing in power, he must continue doing his human sacrifices and practices of cannibalism. In 1980, Samuel Doe staged a coup to overthrow the government in Liberia at the time. One of the things that he also did was he actually reached out and called upon the general specifically, saying that he wanted him to perform black magic rituals to aid in helping him become the president during the next election. Strangely enough, lo and behold, what the F? He actually did it. He became the president. So how real is this black magic stuff to where he was able to do this and Samuel Doe became president? I don't know, but I do know that Samuel Doe also rigged the election and he would destroy the ballots of any of his opponents. So yeah, black magic. Ooh, yeah. Eventually, though, Samuel Doe would be murdered or probably assassinated. And from that, a new group arose called ULIMA, which I believe stands for United Liberia. No, let me just look at the notes. It's a lot. United Movement of Liberia for Democracy. And that was founded by Mandinka refugees, the Kron family, and I believe some remaining soldiers. So they formed an entire new group after this Samuel Doe guy was murdered. And yes, the general was a part and affiliated with this new group that arose from the ashes. Matter of fact, this is basically part of where the warlord part of his life started to come into play. So his first war crime was the coup that I mentioned earlier, because I mean, that's not good. You can't stage a coup. That's a war crime. But after that and the induction of this new conflict, he would go on to commit many more war crimes. And this is where you're about to find out. During this conflict, the general would recruit and gain a bunch of soldiers. I mean, like dozens of soldiers. Now, most of these soldiers were actually child soldiers, so, you know, that's terrible. But he ended up getting a bunch of them, and they ended up going by the name the Naked Base Commandos. And I'm pretty sure you're starting to wonder, at what point do we get to why is he called General Butt Naked, and why are they called the Naked Base Commandos? We're getting to it, but I just need to build you up for it because this is wild. Like, think about it. This guy was doing human sacrifices and murdering people and eating hearts at the age of like 11. What were you doing at the age of 11, huh? Like, even if you are from the streets, I don't know if you were out here eating people's hearts and saying that you were having like weekly meetings with the devil. Like, what the? So the reason why he got the name General Butt Naked is because many times before he went into a battle, him and his soldiers would do PCP and other psychoactive drugs, but I think PCP was a big one. if you don't know much about PCP, I'll just kind of explain it very shortly. PCP is a very weird drug that, like, listen, don't ever in your life touch that stuff. I swear to God. Now, this isn't some after school program, but just listen to Big Dog on this one, okay? I know some people that are police officers. I've seen some crazy videos. And believe it or not, the people that I know that are police officers, they've straight up told me, they were like, listen, we don't even really care about stuff like marijuana anymore. Like, you know, it's small potatoes. But they were like, anytime someone gets a call and someone is on PCP and it's a disturbance, their day is immediately shot. They're just like, oh my God, the rest of the day is a wash. Like, no police officer wants to respond to a PCP call. And I'm going to tell you why and why he's general butt naked. So generally, what PCP does to people after a while, once the effects start kicking in, is it raises your heart rate and your body temperature like crazy. So you just start feeling super hot, you're sweating like crazy. So that's kind of where the butt naked part comes from, but there's another portion to it. It's two parts. That's one part. PCP, for some reason, just makes everybody end up naked and crazy. And it's because it just heats you up. But the other reason why General Butt Naked and the Naked Base Commandos got naked and did other weird things is because they claimed that getting naked was almost like a special untapped superpower. They felt as though they were immune to bullets, which I get it. Because, I mean, imagine you're in the middle of like a war scene, right? You're in the middle of a war. And there's all of this normal stuff going on around you. And then you just out of nowhere see a guy in nothing but shoes, sneakers. And I think they said he had like a few magical charms, so maybe some bracelets or necklaces on or something. And other than that, just completely naked, running around screaming with an assault rifle. Now, let's be honest, he's not really immune to bullets, but you're probably so thrown back that you stop shooting for a second. Like, am I tripping? Do I see a butt naked Liberian man screaming? Yes, you do. You see a butt naked Liberian man screaming. And this guy would just run into battle fearless, full blown Chad mode, just straight ahead with the gun, screaming, high on PCP with him and his soldiers, butt naked, and just stabbing and shooting anyone they come across. This is so crazy. And this is real life, people. This happened. This is a thing. This is not science fiction. This isn't from some movie or video game I saw. This happened in the 80s. General Butt Naked, ladies and gentlemen. And now you know where the name comes from. But we have more to talk about. Let's keep going. So the general also claimed that the reason why they used PCP and other psychoactive drugs is because it kept them alert and it raised their awareness. Also, he said it made it a lot easier for the soldiers to take his commands and they followed him a lot more closely. Also, and there's going to be a lot of alsos because this is crazy. Whenever they got done or considered that a village or town was conquered and raided, they would seek out a child in that village, kill said child, and eat its heart. They would take the heart and they would divide it up into pieces amongst the commandos, and they would all take a piece of a child's heart and eat it. This is crazy. Listen, I don't care what you say about the United States. Listen, we're not perfect, okay? By a long shot, we're not perfect. And at some point in time, you know, we may have felt a little bit of pressure, a little bit of paranoia going out, especially with some of the news articles we've been seeing lately with, you know, the unfortunate killings and shootings and, you know, just crime kind of going up sometimes because crime typically goes up whenever inflation happens and things become more unaffordable for people. Makes sense. But I have never in my life, son, walked outside paranoid that someone was going to chase me down and carve my heart out and eat it, okay? I've never had that level of fear in the United States. So I'm gonna be honest, I'm happy to be here, okay? I'm happy to be here. Moving on. Many of these conflicts were sparked up over the possession, or who would be in possession after the war ended, over the diamond fields and the gold mines. And oftentimes the butt naked commandos, I don't know what I was going to say. I think I was going to say the booty brigade. But oftentimes the naked base commandos would win. So they would end up getting the gold and they would get the diamonds. And do you know what they did with them? They traded diamonds and gold to the Mexican cartel in exchange for more guns and cocaine. In April of 1996, the NPFL launched an attack so that they could go in and I think grab this guy named Roosevelt Johnson. I think he was like a president or something. I don't know if they're going to grab him. They're probably going to kill him, but it was a attack on him, right? And it was known as one of the biggest wars during this Liberian Civil War, right? So it's a lot of chaos, so much that most of the population of the town had to literally leave. I think it's called Monrovia. They had to like leave the town because the war was that crazy that they just bounced. It was no, let's bunker down or sit here and, you know, put our head between our legs and wait this out. Like they was like, yo, we got to go. Too much is happening. It got so crazy that a lot of the people left. There was one bystander who says that he saw General Butt Naked in the midst of all of this chaos. And he was on top of a truck, obviously butt naked, in nothing but shoes, with an assault rifle in one hand, screaming, shooting at people, and in the other hand had a man's genitals. Just like, listen, I am so thankful to be a United States citizen, because that's just crazy. That's crazy. And I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I got more things to tell you. The general claimed that sometimes he would enter cities through the water. So he would be underwater and there would be children playing there. And it was almost like a ritual to initiate the attack. What he would do is he would take one of the kids, drag them underwater, snap their neck, and that would be like, all right, let's go. And that would start the raid upon a city. Also, since some of these guys were very crazy and psychotic on PCP, they weren't always butt naked. So some of the soldiers would just randomly be shooting with AK-47s while wearing women's dresses that they raided. And they would be walking around with imaginary purses, just grabbing the air and putting imaginary purses on, as if they raided them off of people, but there was no purse there, obviously. And they would just, I don't know, pretend dress up while murdering people in random places in Liberia. And one of the craziest facts is sometimes they beheaded people, and while high on PCP, they would play soccer with the severed heads. After everything I just said, what do you think ended up being the fate of a guy like this? A guy named General Butt Naked, literally running face first into bullets with nothing but like some shoes on and some trinkets, walking around with his crew who is acting like they're women, putting on invisible. What do you think is the fate of this guy? You guessed it, Christianity. So today, literally today in 2022, General Butt Naked, at this point, I'm just going to call him his name, Joshua, whatever, is alive today, not in jail. And he is a preacher preaching Christianity. So in 1996, whenever the war started letting up, for some reason, this guy just like sobered up. It was weird. So he said he was on the battlefield and he looks down at his hands and they're covered in a child's blood. And he says he gets a vision, but this time it's not from the devil. He gets a vision from who he says is Jesus Christ, who says, stop being a slave to this. And he said, if you keep doing this, you will die very soon. And for some reason, that was enough. He snapped out of it. And now this guy is a Christian, so much that he's even went to the Liberian government and tried to ask them to start some type of, I don't know, coalition or organization or foundation or something that was devoted to stopping war criminals or warlords specifically and making them answer for their injustices. What a roller coaster of a ride. But yes, to this day, this guy is not in jail. He is walking amongst us as a free man. He probably can never come to the US. He's probably, it's like they got restrictions. They probably deny him access. But yeah, man, he's there right now, and he's a preacher, and he preaches the Holy Spirit, and according to them, he tries to save people. He's done interviews. You can catch one of them on Vice, and he said that he just can't live with himself, really. He says that he still feels guilty every single day about all of the children he robbed of having a future and having, parents. And then vice versa, he says he feels bad for all the parents who are now growing up and they don't have the children that they could have had. And it is awkward because some of these people, they still run into him in the town. I don't really know their reception. I don't know how they feel about it, but I mean, he's still alive, so nobody's, gotten vengeance. But yeah, that's General Butt Naked. Tell me how you feel about that wild, kooky, crazy story. Using human severed heads as soccer balls, eating children's hearts, dragging them underwater, holding a man's genitals on top of a truck in one hand with an assault rifle in the other. His soldiers were mostly children who ran around in women's clothing, and they murdered other people, and they also ate hearts, and that was 100% real, no fiction. So yeah, other than that, please help your boy out. Shoot me a like if you liked it. I mean, not if you liked it, that's kind of twisted, but you know what I mean, the content. Like if you just liked this kind of content, interesting. Not that you like eating kids' hearts, none of that. But yeah, shoot a like. It helps out with the algorithm, help us get noticed by YouTube Senpai. Other than that, I hope you have a great day. And I look forward to kicking it with you peoples in the near future. Let me look at my magical board. Let's see what's next. If I keep going in order, I may talk about the Carrington event next. Don't hold me to that, but maybe. It's next on the list, but I may switch it up. Yeah, we're going to be looking at the Carrington event, another do with this information as you wish, technocracy, conspiracy theory, level 5, and I told you guys before I got something special planned out for October, so expect for more content than what you're seeing right now in the month of October. I want to make some good use of your time, but yeah, other than that, please like, comment, share, all that good jazz, and I'll see you folks in the next one.